And they're so generous in their support of the Canberra community, such a familiar and beloved feature at so many different events, and it's wonderful to have them in our midst as past recipients of the Chief Minister's Rotary Peace Prize, among past recipients. Our first speaker today is Mr. Damien Cardona Onces, who will bring a message from the Secretary-General of the United Nations. Please welcome him.
What a beautiful place to have this event today. In the United Nations, with 193 member states, our protocol is quite reduced. So we only salute everybody by excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, not to disrespect anybody. So I'm going to make it short like this. However, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we gather today and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I would also like to thank in particular our partners for this event, the Rotary Club, Michael, and all the different members of the Rotary Club that are joining with us today. For those of us that we never lived in our lifetime a war, peace and war seems concepts a little bit far from us. We don't really know what they mean and what they feel. Last weekend I went with my family to the War Memorial in Canberra, and we left the War Memorial understanding a little bit more what war and what peace means. The United Nations were created for that. The soul of the United Nations is to protect, to endeavor peace all over the world. This year we are happy to mark also the 75th anniversary of the Australian engagement in peacekeeping operations that was observed last week here in Canberra. We are grateful in the name of the United Nations for all the support Australia has given to the United Nations in the past 75 years. But today is not my time to speak. It's the Secretary General that is going to address through me a message in the occasion of International Peace Day. And I quote, "Peace is a noble and necessary pursuit, and the only practical pathway to a better, fairer world for all people. Yet, in too many places, in too many contexts, we are failing the cause of peace." The theme of this year is End Racism, Build Peace. Reminds us of the many ways racism poisons people's hearts and minds and erodes the peace we all seek. Racism robs people of their rights and dignity. It inflames inequalities and mistrust, and it pushes people apart at a time when we should be coming together as one human family to repair our fractured world. Instead of fighting each other, we should be working to defeat our true enemies: racism, poverty, inequality, conflict, the climate crisis, and the COVID-19 pandemic. We should tear down structures that sustain racism and lift up human rights movements everywhere. And we should drown out the vicious voices of hate speech with a united and sustainable area for truth, understanding, and mutual respect. On this important day, a time to observe 24 hours of non-violence and ceasefire, we renew our call for all people to do more than lay down their weapons. We call on them to reaffirm the bonds of solidarity we share as human beings and get down to the business of building a better, more peaceful world. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, New York, September 21st, 2022. If one country in this region of ours knows the suffering of war and its lasting effects, is Japan, our our Secretary General visited Hiroshima just last month. And he was once again completely impressed and distressed by the suffering he witnessed there. This bell, that is a replica of the one that is tomorrow, actually in a few hours in New York, the Secretary General and the President of the General Assembly will strike, as we will do today here in Canberra, was offered by the people of Japan back in 1954. And since then has been the marking of one of the biggest moments of the United Nations calendar, which is the General Assembly that starts the third week of September every year. So this bell marks peace, marks the beginning of understanding among nations in what it is, the General Assembly.